Allegiance, Mr. Ricky. Oh, so okay. That would be Mrs. Cordero's cue then.
Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'll give you the heads up. All right, upcoming calendar. Am I still on? Good. Of meetings, activities, and events on October 28th, there'll be a special board meeting, and on November 18th of 2020, the regular board meeting will be held. We have 2 public comments this evening. Public comments are intended for members of the public to address the Board of Education on items involving the school district. Such testimony shall be limited to 3 minutes each per person or subject and 15 minutes per topic. If an answer to a specific question is requested, the board president will, if appropriate, direct administration to respond in writing. Mr. Ontiveros.
So the first comment this evening reads, hello, my name is Rai Cooley. I teach English language arts and newcomers ELD at Tommy Coots Junior High School. I'm submitting this letter for public comment at today's board meeting. I'm writing to you with concerns about the junior high remote learning schedule. In between live Zoom class sessions, asynchronous assignments, and afternoon office hours, our students are receiving far more minutes of instruction each day than the state of California currently requires. As a result, our students hardly get a break from the computer all day long, and teachers have little to no time to plan lessons or grade assignments. In the current practice that junior high teachers are expected to take attendance during office hours, even though office hours were not set up to be a formal class. Because of this setup, junior high teachers really only get a prep period every other day, which again leaves little to no time for lesson planning or grading. And much time on Mondays that could be used for lesson planning and grading on Mondays is often taken up by meetings or professional development. Having office hours may be an optional drop-in or by appointment with students would help teachers immensely as we all struggle to meet the demands of remote learning during a pandemic. Additionally, having mandatory attendance-based office hours also means more work to reconfigure our school schedule, whether we do switch to a hybrid model of instruction, or whenever we do switch to a hybrid model of instruction, I'm sorry. Thank you for your time and consideration. Just as a follow-up, I had addressed this with the board a few weeks back. The sites, the junior high sites have been addressing this. I did speak with Dr. Williams. Their guiding coalition is continuing to discuss, and he says there's, the perception that's portrayed here and others that see value in doing that. So we'll continue to work on that process for the junior highs. Yeah, that was really a decision that was made by the junior highs in order to ensure that they were maintaining contact with students. The next comment is from Ali Morales. Good evening. First, I would like to acknowledge that SMBSD teachers and staff are doing amazing things during an unprecedented school year and an unprecedented time in history. Teachers are learning new skills and collaborating at a rapid pace to ensure we are providing our students with the best distance learning education possible. That being said, I think it also needs to be acknowledged that this tremendous growth has come with a price, and that price is the mental health of your teachers and our families. Our teachers have never been afraid to go above and beyond for their students, but in a year that has already brought so many challenges with every additional request, more and more teachers are questioning their worth as an educator and their future in this profession. Some of the most amazing teachers I know are truly considering leaving, and that breaks my heart for them and our students. This is not complaining. This is an honest plea to look past the amazingly creative and innovative ideas your teachers are putting out into the world and see that we are struggling. We need your help if we're going to get through this. Please support your teachers so that we can support our students. And we did have a session with Doug Fisher this last Monday that was open to teachers. They've written a new, along with Nancy Fry's, written a new distance learning playbook that really is collecting some of the practice around primarily the state and provided some support, and we'll continue to follow up with those for teachers on a periodic basis. And that's in that was in the teaching and learning newsletter that I sent a couple of weeks ago, but I'll resend it on Friday as well.
Okay, thank you to those that sent in their comments. We'll move on to item 5, approval of agenda as presented.
I'll move to approve the agenda as presented.
Okay,
I second.
there we go. Ms. Cordero moved and Mrs. Flores seconded that the agenda be approved. All in favor, roll call.
Aye.
I'm guessing you're on mute.
I don't even see him. Where is he?
He's left the building.
Well, it shows 13 participants.
Yeah, he's not one of them, though. He is not one of them.
I see a blue hand up right in the participants list.
Oh, he's Carrie again.
I'm here now.
Okay, incognito boy.
I said I. There I am, but I'm not on there.
Here.
Aye. Motion passes. Moving on to item 6, consent agenda.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I second.
It's been moved by Mrs. Cordero, seconded by Mrs. Flores.
Can you all hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, can you hear me? Sorry,
Yeah.
I was muted. We-
God, I don't know what
Uh,
happened, but I mean,
Mrs. Cordero moved and Mrs. Flores seconded to approve the
Yes.
consent agenda. Yeah, there you go. Roll call.
Aye.
I.
Aye.
Yes, aye. Approved. Moving on to action items. Item 7A, Resolution 20-03, approving the absence of board members.
And so item 7A is a resolution approving the absence of Mrs. Halter from the September 23rd meeting of the board.
Okay.
Well, can I make the motion? Okay. I make a recommendation that the Board of Education adopt Resolution 2003, approving the absences of board members from meetings of the Board of Education.
I'll second.
Resolution 20-03.
Aye.
I.
Aye.
Aye. I'll try to work on my muting and unmuting skills to a greater degree of accuracy. Sorry about that, you guys. So we'll move on. Motion passes and we'll move on to 7B, Resolution 20-04, authorized signatures for the 2021 fiscal year as required by the Santa Barbara County Education Office.
And so this is a resolution that authorizes signatories on financial transactions of the district. We normally do this in the reorganization meeting we did last December. At that time, Melissa Maxwell was the accounting supervisor. She has since applied and been promoted to coordinator of human resources. And so we filled the accounting supervisor position with Kimberly Norton, who joined us 2 weeks ago. And so this resolution allows us to add Kimberly as a signatory for district transactions.
Is she new to the district?
She's new to the district.
Oh, cool.
And what position does she have?
I'm sorry?
What position does she have?
County
Accounting
supervisor.
supervisor in the business services office.
Okay, thank you.
I'll move to adopt Resolution 20-04 and approve the attached authorized signature list.
I
I'll
second.
second.
Ricky thirded it.
Yep. It's been moved by Mrs. Cordero, fight for second between Mr. Lar and Mrs. Flores. Mrs. Flores wins. Roll call, please.
Aye.
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 Aye. I'm just glad Mr. Lara continues to participate after being so quickly relegated to third. Moving on to item 7C, public hearing, compliance with Education Code Section 60119 and CCR Title 5, Section 9531C, sufficiency of instructional materials. Ms. Dutra?
So this is the public hearing to adopt the resolution for the sufficiency of instructional materials. As you know, the governing board of each school district receiving instructional materials funds is required to hold a public hearing on the sufficiency of textbooks and instructional materials. Public notices were posted at Santa Maria Bonita School District Souza Center, on the individual websites of all 21 schools, and on the district's main website. Santa Maria Bonita has conducted an internal textbook and Chromebook survey of all of our school sites to ensure that all students have the necessary materials in all required areas. This year, of course, looked a little different as the materials were Chromebook technology and online access to Clever, which houses all of the instructional materials for students. Additionally, the Santa Barbara County Education Office conducted a textbook audit, which showed we passed the sufficiency of instructional materials audit, and a formal notice will be forthcoming. Based on the analysis of the survey data and the county's feedback, a board resolution has been prepared indicating that the district has sufficient textbooks and instructional materials for every pupil for the 2020-21 school year.
John Raymond didn't call?
Did not.
Okay, so with that being, if there's nobody here, public hearing is commenced and we're all done with that, and we'll move on to item 7D, resolution 20-05, compliance with Education Code 60119 and CCR Title 5, Section 9531C, sufficiency of instructional materials. Deja vu.
I know. So same speech. This is just the resolution now.
So I'll move that the Board of Education adopt resolution 20-05, compliance with Education Code Section 60119 and CCR Title 5, Section 9531C, sufficiency of instructional materials.
Oh, it's been moved by Ms. Cordero and seconded by Mr. Lara via sign language that the board about resolution 20-05, compliance with Education Code 619 and CCR Title 5, Section 9531C, sufficiency of instructional materials as presented. Roll call. Mr. Lara.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Well played, Mr. Lara. Moving on to item 7E. Is there a caterpillar eating somebody's wire?
It's a lot of something.
I don't know. All right, item 7E. Maybe it's the police broadband or something we're getting. I don't know. Resolution 20-06, declaration of October 23rd to October 31st, 2020 as Red Ribbon Week. Ms. Dutra?
Actually, Dr. Zimmerman requested to speak to this item, so he is on the call.
I'd like to acknowledge receipt of resolution 20-06 for declaration of Red Ribbon Week. Every week or every year we have this declaration and celebrate Red Ribbon Week, but it's really our teachers are doing drug education. It's not only just this week. We really highlight what teachers are doing during Red Ribbon Week during this week, but it's ongoing. Our staff are constantly focusing on the social emotional learning of students, teaching them good habits. And with that comes drug and alcohol education, which happens in the classroom every day, but we like to acknowledge it during this time frame as well, and really highlight the great things that are happening in the classrooms.
Thank you, Dr. Zimmerman. And thank you, teachers, for their dedication and the social emotional help of our students.
Are we going to be distributing? Are we going to have red ribbons to give out to kids, or is that a non-event?
Not this year.
Not this year.
Everything's kind of on hold, including this. Okay.
I'll move to.
I bet you some of our inventive teachers will figure out a way to do that virtually.
Most likely.
Or not.
I'll move to adopt Resolution 20-06, Declaration of October 23rd through 31, 2020 as Red Ribbon Week for the Santa Maria Bonita School District.
I second it. I couldn't get Rick's attention.
Yeah, you could throw the TV to It's been moved by Mrs. Rodero, seconded by Mrs. Ford, that the board adopt Resolution 20-06, Declaration of October 23rd to the 31st, 2020 as Red Ribbon Week for the Santa Maria Bonita School District, as presented. Roll call, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And I apologize. I really probably should say that in jest that our teachers will do that. No, it really was a compliment to their continued, as was said in the public comment, their ongoing efforts to really be comprehensive and thoughtful. And I know that they're doing the best they can. So that would be just one more thing.
All right, no problem. Is that what happens? Because I thought I had muted myself to speak, but anyway. They still have a lot going on down there.
Maggie did send us a note that says a few schools will be giving out ribbons with meals. Alvin and Ontiveros will be giving out stickers, bracelets, bookmarks, perhaps not ribbons, but some other things.
Okay, good.
You can get that in the chat box.
Oh, I just saw that.
All right, well, moving on to board superintendent reports for the discussion items this evening.
Well, I don't have a report per se because obviously, other than attending things virtually, it appears that countywide, things have leveled off and we continue to show some improvement in terms of COVID-related illnesses. But one of the things that has been expressed to me in different venues and or asked is, how are teachers doing? How is their mental health and how are they holding up, and is there support for them? And when you don't see people, I don't know how that gets addressed. And the longer we stay in this mode of operation, I get how taxing this virtual teaching is, only because I see it at the other end. not because I'm doing it, but I see how hard it is for my grandkids to pay attention and to stay engaged and do that kind of thing. And you know, I know that for, you know, many teachers had quite a bit of technology expertise, but this has been a very, very steep learning curve for so many. And I just am concerned that, you know, we're going to lose good teachers at some point along the way because of the stress and uncertainty. And I don't know if there's anything we can do to address that, or are teachers being, are we letting them know that they do have avenues to seek help, either professionally or, you know, whatever. But I mean, I try to think about, you know, what I would be doing, and what if I were doing this and had kids at home, and it just is, quite frankly, you know, overwhelming even to think about.
And if I could comment, Linda, I appreciate that. It's not just teachers, it's all of our staff members.
Y-
It's our parents, it's our kids,
Yeah.
it's across the entire country. And it is. And so I think, you know, we've always had resources available. I mean, we had, you know, we've always had the EAP program, but you're right, it's not the camaraderie that is usually part of our design. And so I'm going to ask, I was going to comment on this, but I'm going to ask Melissa just to describe. We as I mentioned earlier, we brought in Deborah Fisher earlier week. I mean, because this is new to everybody.
Right.
Right. So there isn't somebody you can go to and say, how have you been doing this? We are all trying to figure it out. Part of the Mondays is really to build staff development. You know, because staff development is more than just learning things. It is the opportunity to you know, to congregate, to commiserate, you know, the C's that aren't in any of the literature. And that's part of that Monday design, is to bring folks together, not just to how can we push harder, how do we make more sense of this. And so I'm going to ask Melissa to comment, because Doug's final message to the staff on the session I sat in on, was it Monday or Tuesday? The weeks go by so quickly. Monday. Was directly to that. So I'm going to ask Melissa, because she and her team really did the work of setting this up in response to exactly what you described.
I mean, a lot of your question, Mrs. Cordero, is really answered at the school site. Obviously, that's where the relationships are. And so, of course, admin is checking in on teachers. They're all checking in on each other, and should be, as we are nationwide, right? This is new and difficult for everyone, and we're checking in on our families, all of that. But in response to just really hearing from folks in the field saying, I don't know how to engage my kids in this way. I'm really struggling with this. Am I doing things right? Am I doing things wrong? I feel like nothing's right because everything's new, right? And we're all feeling that, but especially our teachers. And so really hearing that message and thinking about, at the district level, how can we support them? Because we can't do what they can do at the site level, but what could we do at the district level? And so many teachers and leaders are looking at this book, Distance Learning Playbook, really from a teacher lens of how do we do this work and feel okay about it. And so there was lots of ideas and strategies and tricks and those kinds of things that make you know, that help the job. So there was that component. But the other component that we worked on prior with Doug Fisher, the author, was to really send the message to our teachers that we appreciate them, that we know they're working hard, that they have to give themselves grace. That I think he talked about videos, that stop re-recording your videos. Your first one's good. You know, stop trying to be perfect, and that keep doing the best that you can with what we have. And that's what we're all doing, right? And so really trying to send that message to our staff from, you know, from an author, from a book, from the district, just saying, as a district, we all have to give each other grace, and we're all doing the best we can for our kids. And So that was really the messaging there, and giving them strategies so that they feel better about what they're doing. When they were hearing, I mean, we were on Zooms of 500. I think they're the biggest we've ever done in our district. We did 2 in a row, about 500 each. All the things that teachers were putting up in the chats, you could see that great things are happening, and they got ideas from each other. And they also were told, what was it? Stop having tools envy. Like, just because one teacher's using all these tricks and gadgets doesn't mean you need to. If you're okay, just do what you're comfortable with to meet the needs of kids in your room. Then they have a couple of weeks to kind of try these things out. And then we're going to come back together in those 2 big old groups again, and be with the author again and have another 2 hours to talk about how it went, what they were trying, if they're feeling better about it, and then giving them some more tools to help them continue this work. And then leaders are going to have some sessions with them. And then leaders are also getting one-on-one to say, here's the things we're struggling with, that our teachers are struggling with at our site. Give us some very in context to our specific schools, ideas of how to support teachers. So that's what we put into place. And then we bought, every single teacher got the book. They got those last week. And they've got tons of videos in it that are teachers, not writers, but teachers that are doing this work right now. Tons of videos, tons of feedback and support. And that's just one thing. I mean, that's not going to solve every issue, nor are we saying that, but it's one way that we are trying to support them in doing this heavy lift that they're doing.
Because I would, and that really, and Doug's last message was to everybody was take care of yourself. Right? Don't push yourself so incredibly hard, because we're all doing this for the first time. I just think of anytime you do something for the first time, play tennis, swing a baseball bat, you do it over and over again, and it hurts the next day, right? And this is something that we've never experienced before. So just to we're in this for the long haul in one form or the other, and that's probably the hardest part. I have a parent that I talk with about weekly who has 2 childs that are in special day class setting and really wanting to know how I need more help. So it's everybody. And so it's and I just think of this is so different because in our experience, we've been doing this a long time, you get an opportunity to get feedback from a multitude of people on your school site on a regular basis, sometimes even when you don't want it, right? And now if you're working from home, where's that contact, right? Or even in, isolated rooms. We're not together in the lunchroom like we always were. The parking lot conversations are illegal now because you're not physical distancing. I mean, it's a struggle across, and it's not just schools. I mean, I have, friends that work in other industries that are experiencing the same thing. We're all getting this Zoom fatigue. I feel like I never get from out in front of this Zoom screen. There's no time in between. It's every day straight through. That can't be our new normal, right?
I hope not.
It's going to be our transition reality for a while, and I'll talk a little bit more about what that looks like, and that's part of what we want to do in the workshop. On the 28th is give some context around some of those things. We passed that that LCP just 2 weeks ago, right? We had to have that plan to the state. We're still trying to figure this thing out, right? And nobody's an expert, but we're building expertise. And as I sat in the afternoon session on Monday, what Doug Fisher did was, he modeled how to use that platform with 500 people, contributed in that chat room, just phenomenal feedback from our folks. But it's not just important for the people that are providing that input, it's for everybody to see. There was so much commonality in the response, and I think we tend to think about how my class is different or my job is different, my school is different. We got a lot more in common than we do different. And we've got to be able to, take a breath, because sprinting, you just can't sprint all the time. There's got to be some pace to this. And that's what I want to talk a little bit about this evening when I get my opportunity to speak as well. But I appreciate the sentiment, because I think we all feel that way for everybody. Where's the end? It's like swimming and you can't see the opposite shore, and you turn around to look where you came from and you can't see that one either. Right? You just gotta keep.
Well, it's like you said, there's the mental isolation that we all feel. That I think there's a very kind of universal sense of dissociation and why we call it physical distancing, not social distancing, those kinds of things. And then that's superimposed on basically doing a new job, a job that's all new. And like Linda said, there's different varying degrees of preparedness for that new job. And I know every time I started a new job, I think, like you said to the teachers, I was like, well, maybe this isn't the right one for me. I mean, and this is exceedingly difficult. And so I think we've said this several times, and I know that we are, that we feel our teachers are amazing and excellent and they're doing a great job, but we also have to acknowledge their value regardless of that expectation or that understanding, so that we've verbalized it in this environment where we're distanced. And so, because those are, I think you're right, Linda, those are the emails or the talks that we typically have. And so, I think I've said it before, when you're on your site, when you're in your cohort, those are the times to build one another up, share as much of those things as you can. And like you said, Mr. Ontiveros, it doesn't have to be professional, right? It is, how are you doing? Because we as board members are here in this room once or twice a month. We're obviously available, but it's on a day-to-day basis, that's not going to sustain anybody. So it's the sustenance, it's sustaining things and enduring over a longer period, because this is going to be not a real quick one and you're done semester thing. No, and while the numbers may be changing in Santa Barbara, they're not for the better here in this part of the county. So, at any rate, I would certainly echo your concerns, Mrs. Cordero, and I appreciate your saying that, because we do want to know that our teachers and all staff, like Mr. Ontiveros said, to know that we value them, and we're very fortunate that they're doing the jobs that they're doing.
The highlight of this week was seeing a student teacher present on the other side of Zoom. That gave me a feeling of content, because it was like the wheel is still semi-normal. We still have student teachers out there. They're still moving through. My grandson's in college in the next room, and so I had him come over and take a look at what a student teacher was doing, because he wants to be a teacher, so this might be his future. But the whole process was even a little different, because the master teacher had to get permission from parents to go beyond a 25-minute period of time, not scheduled in the day, just if they would like to be part of this lesson, kind of. Because the way things go and the amount of time they have, you miss a breakout button to get in a breakout group, you're done. So you have to give that teacher that guidance, that student teacher that guidance to have success too. So it's truly a new experience for everyone as I sit down and watch what goes on that screen. And sometimes I'm taking deep breaths, and I'm sure hoping they are too, because it's a lot. It's a lot for our teachers. And I do appreciate everything they do. All staff members, really.
Mr. Lara? You're muted.
Is it okay?
Okay. Okay, too much music in the background, probably. Mr. Ontiveros?
So I do want to comment on the transition of the county to red officially in that red status in the new blueprint for a safer economy. And again, I say that is the criteria blueprint for a safer economy. And so it has an effect on all industries across the county. When we met 2 weeks ago, and I kind of gave the overview, you know, I shared our local data, and I want to give you an update on that. If I can find the slide that I generated. When I shared at the board meeting, can everybody see that? It's kind of small. As soon as it's up to date, I'll present it, put it in present mode.
This is is this an updated one?
This is an
Yes,
updated one.
yes.
Yeah, it has up to the 7th.
So it goes back to the 23rd. Brian, why not, when I go put that in present mode?
Refresh it one time.
Okay.
Upright, the arrow, that down arrow.
This will make it a little bigger. So this goes back to the 23rd, and this is directly off of the county website. And so there is a graph that I shared last week that shows daily what those calculations at the county level looks like. So back to the 23rd, which was 2 weeks ago, the countywide average was at 5.76 new daily cases per 100,000. The similar calculation just for the census tracts in Santa Maria using the Santa Maria population as a divisor was 9.71. And this is data that was just updated this afternoon. And I can't see it because that little pop-up came up. Also for the 7th, the new daily case rate on the 7th, which was a week ago today, for the county was at 4.66. For Santa Maria, it's at 9. And that level that got you into purple was 7 daily cases per 100,000. And we're still at 9. And I wanted to bring this data because you're seeing local districts saying, we're going to stay in distance learning until after the new year. Right? Orchid has made that decision that they're going to stay in distance learning for the remainder of 2020. Who knows what happens between now and 2020, you know, January 1st. And so what my intention is, and I want to bring this here for the feedback from the board, is to use these local indicators as if Santa Maria was its own county, right? When we get below 7 over a 3-week period and we see that downward trend, then we'll initiate that thought. In the meantime, we are moving forward with the cohort design that I shared. I met with Matt Harris and Jose Segura last week to ask them to get questions from their members. We've been talking about it for a couple of weeks just to get feedback. Melissa and I have met with Rusty Gordon a couple of times over the last week to start asking parents, you know, sharing this data. Are you comfortable with your kids coming back to school? Because that's the first most important question, right? And so we're gonna use that population of students in the moderate to severe TLP classes as our first target group. That's a small number that we can build some systems around at the impacted sites. Now, what's happened since is the Friday after the last board meeting, Matt and Sean Chenoweth and I had a meeting with County Public Health because I had referenced in the last meeting the requirement of surveillance testing. The expectation from the county is that everyone on a site, regardless of whether they're attached to a cohort of students or not, should be part of that surveillance testing program. When we met with the folks from the county, they didn't realize how big we were. You know, we're talking about testing, and that for us, that really, eventually that means everybody in the district, every employee in the district. So, you know, we're 2,500 individuals being tested every 2 months. the county told us we don't have the capacity to do that. They have been giving us names of organizations that have been authorized to do the right kind of testing. And so I'm gonna ask Matt, this is kind of cold question, just to kind of give an update on what those conversations are looking like, who's got the capacity, and where we are in that process.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Ontiveros. I've been in conversation on phone calls and through emails with a nationwide provider that does around 250,000 tests a day. They're a large company. They have a lot of affiliates. They have a local rep that I've been in contact with as well. They have provided me with an agreement to review and sign and return to them to kick off our process. The process is a self-examination using a nasal swab. It works a lot like a 23andMe kind of design where they ship to you the kit. After you register and sign up for the app, they ship you the kit, comes to your home. You do a nasal swab that they describe as a gentle pressure. It isn't the one that people talk about. That is much more involved than that. This is a much different process. You break off that swab into the sample vial, put it in the box that it shipped to you in. Inside that same box is a bag that you slip the box into, seal, drop off at UPS, and UPS takes it to the lab and you get your test results. They say within 24 to 48 hours. That's their capacity. That's what they can do. And then you get your information, you get your result. At the same time, they share that information with the state and the county so that they get the data they need and can engage in the work they need to as far as tracking those statistics and reacting if there's a positive result. I've also been in contact with other provider options in case we need like a backstop plan where a person isn't able to sign up on the app or the person isn't following through on getting their test kit followed or turned in.
Done, yeah.
Because I want to make sure that when we're describing for our community, our employees and county public health, that we are testing 100% of our employees on every 25% every other week and 100% every 2 months, that's what's occurring, right? I want to make sure that's what's actually happening. So we'll have a couple of options in the background to make sure that occurs. And so that is occurring. They agreed to the rate that CISC has negotiated for all of their districts. CISC is one of the largest providers of employee benefits and property liability coverage. And in their negotiations, they negotiated a price for their participants in their employee benefits plan and using this same provider. And so we are engaging in a contract that will provide us with direct access to that provider for the same price as CISC's rate. And I'm glad Mr. Ontiveros did describe it the way he did. It started with the consideration of the site, but as we thought through all the ways in which our employees really come in contact with every one of the rest of our employees, because we have so many that work from site to site, maintenance workers, warehouse workers, right? They all go to a hub and then go to a site, and they come back to the hub and they go back to the site. We really do need to make sure that we are looking across, scanning across all of our employees. So that's the general plan for testing. It will take us a couple weeks to get that off the ground once I sign that contract and get it back to Quest Laboratories. But that's the plan at this point for surveillance testing.
And this is what Apple does, because my daughter's an Apple employee. They do it weekly though, because they have so much of a turnaround with public. But it's really a nice system. Very easy to use. The results come back quickly. They've had several little outbreaks, but they contain them. It's just, really a very safe process.
And that really is indeed, I appreciate you saying it. No, it created anxiety. There was that when we started people in our facility about being tested, getting their temperature taken. But we kind of gotten into that rhythm, and now there's, we're moving on to the next thing. This is going to create, a little bit of anxiety for folks, but it's for the intention of ensuring in the long haul, regardless of what the remainder of this year and God forbid into next year looks like, that we're putting the protocols in place to assure that we're able to build a fence around, like you described, Apple's able to do. And so I really commend the county on making that recommendation, because some counties aren't holding that line. But I think we're such a big element within this community where we already have a high transmission rate. We owe it to ourselves, but to the community as well, to ensure that we're doing everything we can to build that foundation, so that regardless of whether we're remain in distance learning, grow cohorts, bring kids back on whatever type of schedule we may develop as time progresses, that we're keeping that as front and center in terms of what we're attempting to do. Yeah. And it's frustrating. I mean, this lovely parent that I've spoken to, I said, I'm as frustrated as you are, but we've got to do it the right way. We can't do it and get halfway around the track and realize that we've got a step. And so it really is a public health situation. I said this in our county superintendent meeting on Tuesday, because South County, where these little schools, they're reopening with their 125 kids, where they've got, transmission rates that are 20% of ours. It's a different environment. We've got to respond to our environment and make sure that we're making the best sustainable, durable decisions for our community. It's, again, more than just schools.
And their employees.
Our kids have siblings that go to other schools and other family members. We've got to think about those other elements as well. So again, my intention is to continue to monitor. I have a communication that I've drafted. I wanted to have this discussion first that I'm going to send out to parents on Friday to give that big picture of where we are. I got the thumbs up from the county to use that data, because it hasn't been published. I mean, we all know when you look at the graphs on public health that we've got the Santa Maria is about 20% of the population of the county. We're about 70% of the positive cases. So do the math, right? This health equity index that's come out as part of the blueprint, there are 21 census tracts within the county that have higher instances. 11 of them are in the city of Santa Maria. I mean, we all read that in the Times over the weekend. So we've got to deal with the reality that's in front of us. But we also, we need to, everything that, that we're seeing, that the impact on kids and staff, we've got to make sure that we're doing as much as we can to provide that safety, in addition to the social, emotional wellness of everybody, and of parents too. God bless our parents, right? That are, that we got houses with 7, 8, 9 kids that are, they're juggling this piece. So we're going slow to go deep to make sure that we're doing this correctly. And that will be part of the workshop on the 28th. I want to bring that back, those concepts. On the 28th, we will start at 6 p.m. There won't be a closed session before. So John, so you don't have to race from work. We'll give you a whole extra 15 minutes. But that will be part of the conversation. We're also going to have an update on some of the pieces that were referenced in the LCP when we approved it last week, that assurance of addressing mitigation of learning. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the instructional pieces that are in place, and that support to make sure that we're making this year the best year it is for every second grader, third grader, because they're moving on as well. And then the last piece, I have Jose Segura is in the last year of that MOU for President's full-time release. We made a presentation when we signed it in the fall of 18. So he's going to come back and give you an update. I shared with him what was discussed back then, and he's going to bring back what that focus is going forward. So that'll be the breakdown of the workshop section. We may have some just some routine business items on that agenda, depending on what comes up between now and then as well.
Sounds like a full night.
Yeah, we all want to get it right. Mm-mm.
Okay, then that being all further reports, we'll go ahead and